Can join us here. So, welcome back to our session. We'll start the second part of the session, which is a roundtable, where we ask some general questions about different themes. So, let's start. First of all, we would like to thank again our guests, and taking into account your experience and rich career, can you please tell us what are the opportunities that you think would be in the near future very interesting to follow in quantum technologies, I would say.
So should we start in order?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
that place, maybe?
I think you can start.
Feel free if anyone would like to start, so just...
Well, in Archimia, when we started 5 years... Oh, sorry. Okay. Better? Okay. So when we started in Archimia 5 years ago, we studied the landscape in quantum technologies. We have, let's say, maybe a shock between the physicists and the engineers. Okay. I'm pretty sure that you are familiar with this thing. I'm an engineer, so I used to be told that I am the Oompa Loompa of science and these kind of things. So when we studied the landscape in quantum technologies, it was a little bit like this situation in which physicists and an engineer have to reach to an agreement. And finally, we decide that for the purpose of our corporate research center, we will focus on post-quantum cryptography, quantum sensing, and also a little bit in quantum algorithms and quantum machine learning. For us, quantum computing right now is, we explore the field, but we don't invest right now in the field. But this change year to year, so eventually we will start doing things over there. And that's currently the bet in Archimia, along with capabilities in photonic integrated circuits, hybrid integration with RF, and let's say some capabilities to reach to this kind of system.
Okay. Would you like to know the opportunities in general in the professional world, or that we see particularly at my company? Both. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So in general, I think that for you, as master students and probably enrolled in a PhD program and everything, and so you are looking for a job, I think that the field of quantum technologies that is currently offering more opportunities, in particular in Spain, is quantum computing. And that doesn't mean that I think that it is the more mature, of course, it is the other way around, but I think that it is the one that is offering more opportunities, and this is because it is the field that has raised more expectations, and because of that, more investment is attracting, I think, that the most part of the investment. And also because it is a challenging, very challenging field that requires a lot of time to get to something, let's say, commercial. and so the investors know that that this is a long-term race. So they have to invest a lot of money for many years in the company. And if I'm not wrong, I have read that quantum computing startups receive like 3 times the investment of an average deep tech company for this reason. So a lot of positions on quantum software developing, quantum machine learning, even quantum-inspired algorithms. You probably know this company called Multiverse Computing, which is a startup that is growing a lot in Spain. You also have an example here at TESIC, the company by one of the teachers of the master of how is it called, Inspiration Q, which are also focused on quantum-inspired algorithms. And quantum-inspired algorithms are in the end classical algorithms that you can already take profit from. But also quantum hardware developing. You have companies like Kilimanjaro that are developing superconductor-based quantum computers. And then I would say that then the second most the field of quantum technologies that is offering more jobs, let's say, are quantum cryptography, because it is a very mature technology with already deployed fiber-based networks, quantum networks. Even here in Spain, you have MAT-QCI European networks. So that would be the case. And if you are more into the academic world, then this can be different because quantum communication is a very mature field that is more close to a product than the other, especially that technology, especially quantum computing. So that would be what I would say in general. And in particular, in Navantia, we are interested in 2 main technologies. One of those is quantum cryptography. There is no better way or more secure way of doing cryptography than with quantum. So, and you, as a defense company that we are, you can imagine that security is very important for us. So that would be one of the fields we are more interested in. And the other one is quantum sensing, in particular magnetometry, because for submarines, it is very important to have very precise magnetometers. They used to, they have to measure the Earth's magnetic field to detect anomalies that can be created by another submarine that can be hostile, or to create navigation maps based on natural magnetic anomalies. And also you can build inertial navigation units based on magnetic sensors, quantum magnetic sensors in particular. And in our case, we are very interested in MV centers, in diamond crystals, because they can operate in ambient temperature, room temperature, and they can be made very compact, and they are also very robust and very precise. So that would be our main interests.
Okay, so shall we go to the next question? Yeah. Okay, just adding on what Ruben said about being a physicist or a mathematician, we just want to know how important and what is the role of interdisciplinary in the development of quantum innovation and commercialization also. I mean, mathematician, physicist, engineers, or whatever.
So I will talk not only about this field, but any field. When you approach a problem, you have to see that, or you have to think about the problem as a sphere. Okay, your point of view is just one view. Other people with other backgrounds, other degrees in some other fields like business, like arts, anything, will provide you with some others' point of views. So if you want to make a solution for a problem, you better make sure that you have the problem well identified and well, structured. So basically, that's the thing. That's the importance of have a diverse team, because otherwise you are in a bubble and you are seeing just one part of the problem. Usually, people that came from the technical background, when we think about a product or commercialize a product, we only focus on the technical part. Okay. Some of them say, okay, but you have to take into account research, manufacturing, value proposition, some other things. But in reality, it's a lot of things. It's marketing, is how you treat your client before and after. It's a lot of things. So make sure to not be in a bubble. That's all.
This one works? Okay. So being in touch, I would say, with undergrads, and after doing it, I think we've all done a technical degree. I think like the most important trait that you develop throughout the degree, besides all the concepts that you learn, because I think if we're very honest, 10 years after, you don't remember. No? But that frustration, I would say, that determination of studying, the fact that you've exposed yourself to really complex ideas and understood them, and like have found your own process of how to learn, in the end, I think that's what makes these type of profiles important. And whereas when you mix them up, actually I'll spill the beans, but someone in the picture that I showed is my husband. Also, so, and he's a mathematician, telecommunication engineer, and physicist. So, yeah, sometimes is this like pale pink or light pink? Anyways, sorry, that was a bad joke. What I wanted to say is, for me, it was very interesting for me when we were talking about signal processing. Like, as a physicist, I mean, you see the Fourier transform. I saw it through my partial differential equations course. That's, I think, where I mostly saw it. That's what we were working with all the time. And for a telecommunications engineer, I think you see the Fourier transform in your first year. You see it all the time. So some things that for me were not, I mean, I wouldn't say they were complex for me or I didn't have the capacity in any way, but it was just like being with people from other disciplines, but you still speak the same language, yeah, in a way. They will be able to also explain things from another point of view. So I would just say, just from your own learning process, that's very, very enriching.
Yeah, and adding to that note, we also want to know what advice would you give us from someone who comes from a STEM degree, right? From academia, how to change into industry, right? Because you also need not necessarily learning abilities, but also you talked a little bit about how you need to know how to be a leader, right? What qualities are needed, like the soft skills, right? Should we say? So yeah, could you please give us what are the main advice for someone who wants to get into the real world and start working in industry?
Okay, is it okay if I keep going? Yeah. Okay, just to get an idea, are you all master students? How many want to do a PhD? How many postdocs? Okay, so there's a little bit, just to get a bit of a temperature in the room. So, wow, amazing. Amazing resilience. Amazing. Okay, no, just to get a little bit the temperature in the room. Like, I think many of the transversal skills you probably, at least how the education system is set up, at least I'm talking about mostly in Spain, is mostly during the PhD, where you're forced to talk to other people and present. So if you're looking for a PhD program and you feel like you haven't like formally gotten that, I would look for a PhD program that offers those sort of trainings. Having said that, if you're curious about something completely different in your life, like, I don't know, pottery, art, sports, go for it, okay? I did a yoga teacher training in 2013. During my master's and PhD, I was teaching yoga and developed my own yoga project. That made me deal with clients, manage my own yoga projects, negotiate my prices. So in a way, you connect with your self-worth in a way, on when you have to then maybe negotiate salary or whatever. But what I wanted to say, that's something that's really surprised me, is that it's really helped me to teach linear algebra. In the sense of like being in a room, looking at people, like reading people's bodies like, oh wow, they're not interested at all, or they're totally disconnecting, and how to maybe, as best as you can, bring people back. So on the transversal skills, if there's things that you're curious about, like, don't think that they're a waste of time in a way, yeah? So go for it.
Okay, regarding the transversal skills, the soft skills, I would say that's something that is very valued in companies at this moment is team and project managing, and these things you are not taught in your degree or in your master's degree, because a company is not like academia. They work by project oriented, and of course in academia you also work on projects, but usually you have to manage a team of people with different sensibilities. Some of them are difficult to manage, and you have to be very sharp, let's say. And these abilities, it would be nice if you can participate in projects, even in projects that are that have a consortium that is also made up of companies, and also do internships in companies that of the field that you are interested in. Also, I absolutely agree with Irene that knowing to talk to an audience is critical, and here in Spain we don't have this training until very late, and this is very, very important. Also, it is important to know to write a good proposal, technical writing, all these things. If you can, I mean, you have learned the most difficult thing already. So the most complex thing is what you have what you already know. The easiest thing is what is left. So I think it is worth trying.
Well, I completely agree with Irene and Carlos. I can add to this that maybe in a lot of things, industry and academia, they are not that different. Okay, somehow you can choose to pursue a pure technical vertical specialization career path. Somehow you can be curious about being more generalistic, a generalist, and learn some other things. So in that way, it's very similar industry and academia. I think you can pursue both paths in both sides, but definitely. I would recommend to be always humble enough to be aware that you need to be always learning, and that you can be, you can have errors and you can have mistakes and all that. be always learning, read a lot of everything that you can, anything that you can grab a book, pottery, Isaac Asimov, science fiction, algebra, anything, okay? Because you have to understand that the training and the learning curve is not when you finish your PhD. You are going to be learning all your life if you want to stay update in this world. Okay, we can talk about how the world is right now later. And third thing is that you need to be very flexible. You need to be very quick to adapt, and you need to understand that you need to adapt to the world, and the world is not going to adapt to you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a very nice way to put it. First thing I'm going to do after this session, I'm going to buy a book on yoga, be flexible, and
Yeah.
that is the most important thing. And yeah, I actually stopped you for this week and completely, do you hear me? I love the yoga part. I love your YouTube videos.
You have YouTube videos.
Yeah, you should be scared right now. So, nah, I'm gonna be nice. Just gonna ask you, all of you, because regarding with soft skills, essentially your message is to have a broader sense of life, to not only be inside a textbook, but also to learn your self-worth via learning how to connect with people, learning how to speak to an audience. And ultimately, with that, what you need to do in order to do that is to have a good work-life balance. You know, to find your passions, what your vocations, what drive you. You know. So that's my question. What are your thoughts on work-life balance in STEM fields, especially for PhDs? Because that's quite something.
Okay. Should I start and we move less the microphone? Okay. When I was doing my PhD, okay, I used to be in the university like all day, like. I mean, I think about that now, and it was like crazy because I don't have more things in my life. I didn't do yoga, so I work out in the university also. So I spend my time in the university from 9 in the morning to something like 10 in the night. It was crazy, okay. And the thing is that when I have my first child and when I started to have autonomy with my time and my first company, I decided to work only 8 hours. You know, like the legal required thing, but this can sound weird, okay? But when you try to work a lot of hours, they are not productive hours. They are not productive hours. It's really, really, really difficult to stay with, you know, in flow with a deep focus for 2 hours. For 2 hours, it's really, you have to train to be able to do that. So be productive, you know, be very selfish with your time, and you know, enjoy the rest of the time, because for your mind to be able to be focused and productive, you have to rest, you have to spend time with your hobbies, with your family, with anything, and it's totally, I mean, I would be crazy if I didn't spend enough time with my family every day. Okay, that's all.
I completely agree with you, Ruben. The problem with a PhD, and especially a PhD in these, you know, very complex fields, very abstract and with very complex concepts, and also combined with the fact that you are probably passionate about them, and on top of that, with the pressure to publish, to get funds and everything, and you probably get carried away by all this pressure, and you think you only see the university and the lab and your office, and think that you have to do the most every day, and it is yeah, you forget about all other things. You stop doing exercise, you stop socializing, and that's very important because, as Ruben has said, it is not possible to be really productive for 10 hours a day, even if Elon Musk says that, but I don't I don't agree. And in fact, it has been studied. If you know this working methodology, it's agile methodology, Scrum, and all these things, they have studied how the productivity decays with number of hours, and they have found like more than 35, 40 hours a week is a waste of time. Also, you start to feel negative and depressed and everything, and creativity drops down. And it is very important for a scientist to be creative. So you have to be happy, you have to enjoy, you have to go with your friends, and that's what I would recommend you to do.
So I'll echo all of that. Something I think that's important when you're doing a PhD is that I hope this doesn't come off like mean or like negative, but make sure that it's financed. Okay? I mean that you're getting paid. Like if that opportunity doesn't arise and you want to go for it, like I won't be the one to say like do not do it. Like obviously it's your decision. But I do think that if there's not a money exchange, like let's say the relationship between your director and you is a bit difficult, because since you're not getting paid, he can't or she can't ask you, he can't push you. If you don't want to, you're not getting paid. Like it's like it becomes like this very weird relationship in a way, because if you don't want to do it, it's like, hey, I'm not getting paid, I don't want to work this week. Like, so I think that's also like having that financial stability is also like good for your nervous system. You're like, okay, I'm covered. So I would say that's one. Second, definitely find a group that respects at least a minimum of what you feel comfortable with, okay? I won't say names, but at ICFO, the girlfriend of someone in our group that was in another group wanted to go to Italy in summer to see her family, and the PI said, no, you're doing a PhD. She left the group, okay? So just whenever you go, like, talk to a PI, make sure you talk to PhD students there and ask them about the work environment. Like, how is it? Are you working alone on a project? Are you with a team? Because this also goes very much on your own working style. Maybe you love interacting with other people and working on a project. Maybe you like doing your own thing on your own, and maybe asking a colleague or a supervisor like every now and then. So just like make sure that the dynamics matches like the way you like to work, because if not, you can get surprised and find something that it's not aligned with the way you like to work with people. And then there's a tricky thing about the PhD, and it's that it's not like a job that you can say, you're like, you know what, I'm tired, I'll find something else. If you don't finish it, there's like this dark pressure, right, that you leave without a PhD. And it's true that when you're looking for a job, it's like a 0-1 information. You have it, yes, you can access this type of job. No. So I feel like there's a lot of pressure when you're doing a PhD. So I think if you do that homework really well of when you're choosing, that's going to help those hard moments, because going back to the productivity and the number of hours, like in general, a PhD is going to take a lot of hours in your life, if we're honest. But just like all jobs, I think I've worked more at the job I am now on certain periods than I did in my PhD. Like preparing a course for university is crazy, the amount of work that conveys. So the thing is, as long as that has a cycle, that, okay, like I have this workshop or this talk coming up or this paper that I want to do, and it's like going to be this, okay, this month is going to be a bit crazy. You know, you're like mentally prepared, okay, this has a limit. But then, you know, you can have a like slow, and maybe instead of working however many hours you were working, you can do 4 or 5 for maybe a week, or take a week of vacation and then have like a more relaxed week. I think that's great. Yeah, and that's going to happen at all jobs. Like I think at all jobs, there are weeks that it's like you need to deliver, you have a client, and you need to make it. So I think that's always going to happen. And as long as, like Ruben and Carlos were mentioning, you have that space and time where you're taking care of yourself. And then, of course, I think another important thing is really being passionate with what it is you're doing. Because it's really nice when work doesn't feel like work. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the lesson learned here that family, fun, and also especially yoga is important to keep balance. So, but I want to go back to the background. So all of you are from either telecommunications or photonics. Is there any specific reason that make those fields so prominent among quantum technology professionals, I would say?
Yeah, of course. There are a couple of them. First, I think that the many of quantum technologies have to do with photons and electromagnetism. And in telecommunications, I mean classical one, and you learn a lot of that. So, for instance, you use lasers to control quantum sensors for the readout, to change the state. Optical quantum computers are based on photonic components that are the same ones that you use in classical photonics. Let's say splitters, filters, dividers, so on. And I don't know. Yeah, in quantum cryptography, you also work with the polarization of photons, and in telecommunications, you know a little bit of that as well. That would be one reason. And the other reason is that in a quantum system, you also have of course the core of the system, which is quantum, but you also have let's say a lot of subsystems that are classical, like I don't know, electronics, digital signal processing, RF signals, classical quantum error correction, and many things that are well known by a telecommunication or photonics engineer. So I think that's this mix is it's also important. So maybe it's going back again to the multidisciplinarity of the team that is working on this kind of technologies.
Well, I agree with Carlos. I will add that the academic programs of quantum basically are very recent. So a few years ago, we mostly have things related to photons. I don't know, decades ago, they will call also the people working on transistor quantum, the first quantum revolution. That's why also physicists say to me that transistors and electronics and almost everything is quantum. So don't get mad with the hype. So yes, I think that in a few years, we will say most profiles working on quantum have a specific academic background on quantum.
Okay, thanks. Now I will go back to your presentation, Ruben. You mentioned some hurdles and challenges when you started first your company. So and that took me to thinking and have also a personal question, as I come from Morocco, which is a country with little investment in deep technologies, especially quantum. And for example, in my university, we have a group that is dreaming one day, with the collaboration of some university in Africa, to build a quantum photonic computer. So how would you, your advice, for example, for underdeveloped countries and also institutions with which are underfunded, how they can overcome those hurdles or challenges, I would say?
it's kind of difficult, you know, because it's like somehow the chicken and egg problem, in which you don't get results because you don't have funding, and you don't have funding, and then you don't have results. So it's very difficult to break that cycle. I think that some way to look at it is to be creative with the approach. I mean, if most people is trying to do the things in some way and the results are not coming, try to approach that differently, be creative with that. But definitely it's a very difficult problem. And maybe try to look somewhere else to you know, pursue some collaboration with people. There are also some calls specifically designed to underdeveloped countries, underdeveloped regions. So some more mature institution can coach and accompany them. So that can be an idea, but definitely it's a big problem. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and something that I wanted to address that you said, Carlos, like you dropped like a little nugget, but I think there's something in there. This may sound naive, but it's a genuine question, and it's how do you guys feel about all the media hype surrounding quantum computing? This is the first thing that you said, and you think that, of course, we need to be in the public eyes, and we need these blockbusting headlines. Majorana 1 is gonna break your bank account and is gonna do yoga for you for nice. It's unbelievable, right? So do you think that in the long run, could it backfire by creating unrealistic expectations and all these current funding made suddenly?
I think that media hype is a double-edged sword. It has positive points and negative ones. The positive ones are that it helps attract funding and talent, because you are amazed by what the media are saying about quantum, and you want to be there as a professional. And also investors think that is the best what we can bet on, and that's a good thing. Also, it creates public awareness. You know, everyone has heard about quantum, and the things that you have said. That but also there are negative points, and it can certainly backfire, as you said. For instance, by creating unrealistic timelines. We all expect the full fault tolerant, quantum error corrected universal quantum computer to arrive at any moment, but we all know that this is not going to happen in the short term. Also, this thing can disappoint investors. And this over promising and under delivering, might create like a quantum winter or something like that, like a dip. And also it creates a misunderstanding among the general public of what quantum really is. The other day, one of my colleagues told me, but it's impossible to do computing with quantum systems because they are random, something like this. Or they work because they do everything at the same time. And but well, you have to live with it and accept the positive and negatives of the media hype.
Well, and adding into that question, this is for you, Irene, concretely, and adding to this question, you also talked about how this media hype also helps to attract talent, right? I'm not going to call myself a talent, but for better or worse, I got attracted to quantum computing thanks to Quantum Fracture and YouTubers and all these influencers, right? And I saw your collaboration at IE with a famous YouTuber about maths. So my question for you, Irene, is when you asked us what was our first introduction to quantum computing or Schrodinger equation, from my case, it was 15 years old watching a YouTube video. And my question for you is, how important do you think that it's scientific communication for the public interest? And do you think it's good or worse?
Who funds science? Who funds science? Who pays for it? Everyone. Yeah. So everyone should actually have access to that information. That's another huge topic of conversation, but
yeah, it depends on who you're asking, right? Yeah.
Yeah, is this free access? But I think it's very, very important, like that divulgation job that some scientists take on. But going back to your transversal skills, like if that's something that you have an itch for, I would say definitely get involved in activities with high schools, summer camps, like 100%. And these people in the end serve like as a reference in a way, no? It's like that little, oh wow, that sounds so cool. And you kind of project yourself on, maybe you don't want to do exactly that when you are older, but in a way you like kind of see yourself understanding that, working on that, following a similar path. And I mean, especially I would say today, I don't know you as master students how you've experienced it with now all the LLM models, but something that you see a lot in education is people are very distracted and they don't read like the motivation. So I think more and more having these references that kind of like you feel a little bit of butterflies of like, oh wow, that's so cool, and makes you a bit of a science geek. I think that's amazing because maybe you have like someone with huge potential and that could contribute to something, but if they don't know about it, they maybe do something incredible in another place, but exposing people to these things like 100%.
Yeah, the more exposure, the better, right?
Yeah, so if you want to be that person for young people, who knows?
Yeah, no, I definitely saw myself there, and here I am, not understanding anything of the most of the talks here. But yeah, and my last question from my side, and this is from my point of view the hardest question, so sorry for asking, but we're running out of time. So my question is, what would you like your legacy to be in this field? And yeah, who do you want to be known for?
Okay, thank you. That's a really tough one. Okay, legacy is a very strong word. I'm going to think about my daughter. She's 3 years old. I think I would just like to set a healthy example for her as a well-rounded human, if that makes sense. That I'm able to put limits where I need to, that I respect my boundaries, that I cultivate healthy relationships, that I do things that I like, even if that sometimes means not being with my family all the time, if you understand what I mean, like that also that balance within not losing yourself into whatever area of your life. So yeah, I just think just like being able to have an impact on her, if you're able to inspire someone that's next to you by sharing a story, yeah, and passing on humility. Ruben mentioned this. I think being humble and empathy is so important because you never know what the other person in front of you is going through.
It's difficult to improve on that, but but talking about professional legacy, I agree with Irene that legacy is too big a word. So I just think more in terms of having fun, be kind to your teammates, maybe try to contribute if you want to apply these technologies to the real world, but always in a humble position, because legacy is reserved for only a few. So yeah, I would say that just try to enjoy and do what you like.
I agree with Irene that all we have children, we think about that legacy. In the professional area, I will say that exactly it's very difficult to think about a project that makes a legacy. And I'm turning a little bit philosophical here, but it's going to be worse. Sorry for that. The world is changing. Is experimenting a metamorphosis. Okay, in the last decades we have seen a huge range of technological change, and what we are seeing right now is a geopolitical change. So most of you have grown in globalization. You know that means mostly peace. When you have peace in the world, you can invest on progress. Okay, you can invest on cancer research, on ALS research, on things that can really improve and make a legacy in the world. We in Archimia, I told about this ALS project. If that is successful, that could be a legacy for me, because it's going to save 1,000 of lives. But the problem is that we are turning into a world, and this is not going to be a 4 years thing, or something that maybe if Trump is removed is going to change. No. The last years we are seeing deglobalization, and we are turning into protectionism. Into not having trust between countries, war, and this is the reality that we are going to see in the next maybe 2 decades. And it means that the money is divesting into defense, national security, and much less money is going to be invested into progress. So sorry about that. But that's the truth, and that's the reality. But we need to still find some ways, you know, to, yes, we have to invest in what the world is right now, but we need to think about the future that we want, and to be strong, you know, and defense the investment in progress.
So finally, before letting the ground for the audience to ask their questions, one question from our master degree students: what advice would you give them? They will be graduated in 2 or 3 months. So what's your advice for them?
Well, just a quick banner, okay. Look the job offer section in Archimia. That's a first advice, okay. And contact me, because we have some other offers that are not listed. But well, I think that you have to question yourself continuously and reset yourself periodically. And let me tell you something. You have to be prepared to change your field. I have a photonic background, and I always tell this joke that photonics is like Fernando Torres. It's like the eternal promise that never occurs. So photonics is like a technological capacity, but besides optical communication, in 20 years we didn't have a let's say huge use case. So maybe in quantum something similar is going to happen. And it's okay. It's okay. You have all the abilities and you know, all the capabilities to pivot to other place. So be aware of that changes and try to forecast that changes and adapt proactively, not reactively.
I completely agree with you, Ruben. The flexibility is very important and also very valued by companies. I would add, and this is what it worked for me, that you should try to work on the field that you like the most, that that you feel more comfortable with, that you enjoy with, that gives you the strength to wake up every morning. And this may sound like naive, but if you do that, you will be passionate about your work, and you will probably perform very well. And then other things like money, recognition, self-realization will come naturally. So I would say that try to find your spot. And as another more like practical recommendation, as we mentioned before, I would say I would recommend that you complement your knowledge, which is very valuable right now, and with a little bit of additional effort, you can be a very complete professional with some soft skills that are also very valued by companies. So that would be my other advice.
Okay, I'll try to add on to all of that. So the first one I think is, since many of you shared from what I got on the like room temperature experiment, is that many of you want to do a PhD. So if you find someone that it's like, you know, like this person is doing what like really calls out for me, email them. Yeah, send them an email that you're interested, ask if you can have a chat, depending on how far it is, if you can go see the lab or go to a talk in their group. Maybe don't send your CV yet. Yeah, because maybe that's like too early. But you already have a no if you don't email someone. And the worst thing that can happen is that they tell you no, I don't have time, because I mean a PI is very busy, so do not take personal that they don't answer or tell you no, okay? But if they say yes, it could open a very nice door for you. And I know many people, I think also when you start interacting with companies, or if you ever want to go in through the entrepreneur route, being able to, hey, can I get to know you? Can we talk? Like that sort of proactive actions. I think those are very positive, not just like for maybe getting the PhD in the group you want, but for anything it is you'd like to do. And then the other one I would say is, if you're not happy somewhere, like during the PhD, at a job, whatever, give yourself some time to like, okay, am I like, do not take, what I mean is do not take the decision from a hot like place. But be okay with that change and leaving something that's not serving you. Yeah, because especially if you're going through the academic route, or oh, I put so much effort into like the academic route, and now like this step doesn't work, or this is not what I expected. Like be also okay with letting go in a way.
Now we will go to the audience. If you have any question, feel free to ask it. And I think our guest will be happy to answer.
Hi. Maybe this is a very straightforward question, I don't know. But you talk about the salary a lot and your self-worth. What do you think a person that just got a degree on physics or engineer and a master's should start with in the private sector? Because it's because it's a very common question in interviews.
I can start. I can tell you that it's very different, because I don't care about. For me, the master It's like you know to talk. It's okay. You know English. It's okay. So the value in a person is, I mean, come on. I mean, when I hire someone, I look for proactivity, for a person that is autonomous, you know, so some other things, because people with just a degree and a master, you know, like a technical qualification is not enough. So it's very different, and I can tell you that when we started 5 years ago, I have an intern with myself in my company, and he came with me with a contract. He finished his master, and we contract him in the research center. Junior salary, because in the junior part is let's say more or less fixed, and 3 years later he was running an entire research line without finishing his PhD. Now he's the CEO of one of the spin-offs without finishing his PhD, and of course his salary is much higher than anyone on his age. Okay, so I will say that if you pursue salary, you need to be able to see how you can grow in your area and the company.
But the figures, Ruben, the numbers. I don't know how to approach this question.
Navantia is a public company. He will be able to say that.
Yeah, I was going. Yeah, I was doubting if we start with that, but yeah, it's a good point. In Navantia, which is a public company, 100% state-owned, things doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Because the model that you were describing is, for me, is the ideal one. On the other hand, it is very difficult to know those, to perceive those abilities in someone just in an interview. Well, you can get a feeling, but you need more time to get to know someone. Those soft skills. So in Navantia, it works very differently. We have like salary bands, they say, and they depend on your number of years of expertise, which is, for me, is an absolutely erroneous criterion, but it is the way it is. And also depends on your training, your education. So in that case, if you have a master's degree, it is valued somehow. I will say, I'm going to say a number for just completely junior. You have just finished your master. Typical salary in the private world or in a company like Navantia would be something like 35K. I don't know if that's too much or too little for you.
I don't know. That's what I ask.
You have to, when you have to negotiate, you have to have the figure, right? And maybe if you have some additional abilities, it might be higher, but I don't think it can be much higher than that at the very beginning. And maybe in the public sector, it's a little bit lower.
I'm not very sure how to answer this either. What? I can think of the PhD salary where I did my PhD. I think if you go online, it's actually there. Like, you can see the figure. I looked it up lately, and I'm not 100% sure I'll remember the exact numbers, but I think it was around 28K for doing a PhD. That's pretty well paid for Spain, I have to say. I had an FPU, when I did my PhD, and that was like 1K a month. And ICFO basically covered the other bit, so I got paid the same as my peers. So I would say that can be a reference in a way, although I would say that's more on the lower side. I don't know, when I started working after the PhD, I don't know, I honestly don't remember, because I was doing like part-time scientific consulting with writing and editing papers and scientific proposals, and then the other 50% yoga. So like all the numbers are like a huge mix in my mind. But I think it was something around 35, 38K, like right after the PhD. And then I don't know, I can let you know how much our adjunct professors make. Like, don't tell people I told you that, but for example, a professor that teaches like 1/6 ECTS course makes, without taxes, 7.5K per course. I would say it's pretty well paid on what I know in Madrid. I think there's one private institution in Barcelona that pays a bit over that. Yeah, I think those are the numbers I can share.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone had another question?
Thank you all for the round table. I'm really curious about what Irene was talking about, teaching quantum mechanics and the educational part of quantum mechanics, because as an academic it's really easy to lose the perspective of what is the view of the general public. And I want to ask, how do you approach, in the case of Irene, teaching algebra to the young generations, and to Carlos and Ruben? How do you talk to investors about those technologies, to people that know nothing about quantum? Do you, obviously you're not going to talk about eigenvalues and all of that. And I know the hype is very big, but I know a lot of people that even with the hype, they don't know nothing about it. So in this case?
I can't say anything on investors, but I think there's maybe 2-3 things that are important. One is knowing your audience. Okay, I would not speak the same to you as I would to probably PhD students, as I would to undergrads in math or undergrads in biology. You always have to have something that connects you with your audience. So either an experience, something that you have in common, a story. I think that's very, very important, because if you're able to connect on a human level, whatever other thing you want to share about quantum technology or your poster, I think that's going to be much easier. And then the second one I forgot, so I'm going to pass it along. Sorry.
Yeah, that conveying this kind of message to an investor or to the ones that decide inside a company, in my case, is very difficult. You have to go through a lot of filters. Everyone has to agree. Commercial department, financial, business. Yeah. Just to tell you a little bit story that I lived when I first joined the company. I was asked to prepare a presentation for the CTO. You know, we are like 5,000 people in the company, just in Spain, much more abroad. And so it is a CTO of a very, very large company, and it's very busy. But we booked like 1 hour for a presentation, and I was told, just don't say just bullet lines, but explain a little bit the technology, so that the CTO has the sense that you know what you are talking about and everything. So I spent a lot of time preparing the presentation, very catchy presentation with a lot of images and explaining how things worked and everything. First of all, the guy arrived like 20 minutes later to the presentation, so it was reduced immediately to 40 minutes. Then I didn't know how to rearrange things, but I tried. And then of these 40 minutes, like 30 minutes, he spent them looking at the phone and picking the phone and everything, and it was very, 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 very difficult. So, and at the end we said, but okay, how is this going to add value to our products? How is this going to be translated into interest for our clients and for them to be willing to pay for our products? And I don't know if you have heard about the elevator pitch, but it's kind of this thing. You have very little time. Like imagine that you enter an elevator and the CTO is there, and you are going to the 10th floor, and you have these few seconds to to convince him about something, and you have to have a very, very, very clear message and click in the right spot to get him interested. And if that happens, then you will have more conversations, I think. But that's my experience. Probably Ruben can add a lot more on this.
Well, I can tell an anecdote involving Avancia because a few months ago I have a meeting with your president and your CTO and my president, and we were talking about business and all that. And you know, when it came to the part to explain the new technologies we have and all that, your CTO said, "Okay, Ruben, I have to leave in 1.5 minutes. So please tell me everything that is of value for me in 1.5 minutes." Well, anyways, it ended all tell a very important thing, that is know your audience. Okay. For example, when I talk with a politician, first of all, I'm very used to work with a high level of abstraction because I manage biotechnology, quantum, AI, a lot of things that, the low level, the very technical details, I don't know about that. So I'm used to work with a high level of abstraction. If you, for example, talk with a politician, with civil society, you need to simplify a lot the message and try to forecast, the benefits of that technology. For example, it's an example. If you talk with an investor, he doesn't care about the technology. An investor, by definition, only follows the money, okay? It's like you put money, the investor goes. So it's basically the message that you need to prepare for that. Of course, if you are talking with a technical person, you can speak in a technical way. So it's really, really important to that capacity of change, your tone and your message, depending on the person that you are talking about with. Yep.
Thank you all. I know we want to stay more, but that's all.
Hello everyone. Now it's going to be the poster session, okay, in the cluster, so go there.
Y dije, pues venga, aquí que vamos. Y soy Madrid también con los monólogos para tomármelo un poco más en serio. Pues ahí. Sí. Oye, pero ha sido un placer la charla, ha sido súper amena. Yo la única duda que me ha fastidiado porque sí que quería hacerla, que era un poco la ética detrás de estas tecnologías, de quién la va a tener que mover.